Hey everyone, and welcome to This Explainer. Today, we're unpacking what is genuinely an incredibly compelling national saga. We're talking about a nation's complex, decades-long journey toward true democratic legitimacy. Specifically, we're taking a close look at Nigeria's Democracy Day. But as you're going to see, this is way, way more than just a date circled on a calendar. It's a powerful act of historical remembrance, it's a story of profound personal sacrifice, and honestly, it's a continuing test of constitutional order. Okay, let's dive right into this. For nearly 2 decades after the return to civilian rule in 1999, Nigeria actually celebrated its Democracy Day on May 29th. But then, almost 20 years later, the nation completely shifted its most important civic holiday to June 12th. Now, you might be wondering why. Well, this definitely wasn't just some minor scheduling tweak. It was a massive, profound shift in national meaning. We're talking about moving from celebrating a mere constitutional transition on May 29th to recognizing true democratic legitimacy on June 12th. To really understand why a whole nation would retroactively change its most defining holiday, we've got to go back in time and look at what exactly happened on that fateful June day.
Section 1. The Golden Moment.
So, the road to Nigerian democracy was, well, let's just say it was anything but smooth. After getting independence in 1960, the country's democratic development was just repeatedly fractured. We're looking at over 3 decades marked by military interventions, the sudden collapse of aborted republics, and this incredibly grueling cycle of highly unstable transitions. It was like a dizzying carousel of coups and counter-coups, which, naturally, left the population deeply, deeply skeptical of the government. But against all of that deeply unsettled, chaotic background, the year 1993 stands out remarkably. It emerged as this rare moment of unusual national clarity. After years of military interruptions, it looked like the country was finally poised for a definitive, peaceful return to civilian rule. The sheer unprecedented nature of the June 12, 1993 election really cannot be overstated. Conducted under the transition program of General Ibrahim Babangida, the contest featured Chief Moshood Kashimawo Olawale, who was much better known as MKO Abiola of the Social Democratic Party, and he was running against Alhaji Bashir Tofa of the National Republican Convention. Historical accounts widely regard this as one of the freest and fairest elections in Nigeria's entire history. But its real power? That was the cross-cultural unity it inspired. Across ethnic, religious, and regional lines, the election embodied this totally uncommon moment of shared political purpose in a country that had so often been divided by its leaders. For one brief, incredible moment, a fractured nation spoke with a single voice.
Moving on to Section 2. The Mandate Denied. But then, before the final results of that amazingly unifying election could even assume full constitutional meaning, the military government just abruptly voided the whole process. The election was annulled. Just like that, June 12th instantly became a symbol of the massive contradiction between popular sovereignty and arbitrary state power. I mean, this was a massive shock to the system. Think about it. What happens when the collective voice of the people, expressed so clearly and peacefully through the ballot box, is suddenly silenced by the stroke of a pen? The event rapidly transformed from this stunning democratic affirmation into a lasting, incredibly painful crisis of national legitimacy.
Section 3. The Price of Democracy. So, the crucial point here is that the historical significance of June 12 was permanently intensified by the fate of MKO Abiola himself. Back in 1993, he received what he and the electorate believed was a clear, unshakable democratic mandate. But because he insisted on this mandate and flatly refused to back down, the state moved aggressively against him. He was arrested in 1994, stripped of his freedom, and held in detention for 4 agonizing years until his sudden death in 1998. Abiola's tragic fate became the absolute ultimate embodiment of the cost of democracy. It showed the entire nation the steep and sometimes literally fatal price of demanding that political power actually remain answerable to the people.
But listen, Abiola was definitely not standing alone in this crucible. His detention occurred alongside the immense sacrifices of numerous pro-democracy advocates. We're talking about figures like his running mate, Babagana Kingibe, and the tireless, totally fearless human rights lawyer Gani Fawihimi. Gani faced constant harassment, physical intimidation, and arrests for his relentless legal defenses of the democratic process. And right alongside them were countless unnamed citizens who flooded the streets, facing tear gas and live ammunition. It was their collective sacrifice, their protests, and their absolute refusal to let the mandate be forgotten that gave June 12 its immense moral gravity. It wasn't just an electoral injustice anymore, It was a sprawling, nation-defining democratic struggle.
Section 4. Reconciling Memory and Truth.
Fast forward to 1999, and civilian rule finally returns to Nigeria. President Olusegun Obasanjo was sworn in on May 29th, marking the start of the Fourth Republic. Now, from a purely constitutional standpoint, making May 29th Democracy Day made logical sense, right? It was the day the military finally stepped down. But symbolically, it felt entirely incomplete to a lot of Nigerians. May 29th merely marked a transfer of power. June 12, however, preserved a much deeper blood-bought democratic claim, the fundamental principle that political authority absolutely must derive from the freely expressed will of the electorate. Celebrating May 29th while just ignoring June 12th left this glaring, unresolved tension between state action and historical reality. And this brilliantly illustrates what happened next. In 2018, President Muhammadu Buhari made a landmark declaration to permanently resolve this tension, officially changing Democracy Day from May 29 to June 12. As part of this sweeping action, the state posthumously honored MKO Abiola and also formally recognized Babagana Kingibe and Gani Fawihimi. This wasn't just a calendar update, folks. It was the state actively aligning official commemoration with historical memory. It was a formal acknowledgement that you simply cannot tell the honest narrative of Nigerian democracy without confronting the injustice of 1993 and honoring the lives that were broken by it. So, what does this all mean for us today? Well, the core takeaway of this entire explainer is this. June 12 binds memory to responsibility and remembrance to civic duty. June 12 is no longer just an episode stuck in the past. It's evolved into a rigorous, modern civic standard. It reminds the nation that true democracy isn't secured just by holding periodic elections or inaugurating new governments. No, it demands that institutions actually respect the vote, that citizens' participation has real, unassailable meaning, and that political power remains transparently accountable to the very people it governs.
Before we wrap up, I want to leave you with a provocative question to chew on. June 12 is now a national standard, absolutely. But are today's democratic institutions truly living up to the mandate it represents? The whole saga of 1993 teaches us that democratic legitimacy is something that must be continuously protected, fiercely guarded, and vigilantly maintained if it's going to endure. The holiday asks a nation to look back at its profound sacrifices, for sure, but more importantly, to look forward and constantly measure the health of its democracy today against the golden, unifying promise of that June day. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey through the source material, and as always, keep questioning and keep learning.
Please like, share, and subscribe to Master Sense by Faraday, and turn on notifications so you don't miss new and upcoming videos. Drop a comment below and tell us what you'd like to see next.